Hello, everybody. This is Professor Hill, and today is Monday, the 12th of June. So, we're in week two of our class on Ethics 2306, and I just wanted to give you a couple of brief updates. One's about kind of logistics about the class, but then also make a couple of quick comments about our case study coming up on Thursday. So, let me just start with a couple of quick things about the class itself. One of which is there was a couple people that didn't do the assignment for the first case study, which was discussion number 2. And I just want to say, if you've gotten behind, turn them in late. I'll knock points off for being late, but believe me, doing it late is better than not doing it at all. We had a couple of people that missed, so I just want to make sure that, I don't know, maybe people are dropping the class. That's one thing, but also be careful. Everybody needs to make a contribution and take a look. Some of them are really quite well done. They're long, they're detailed, they cite the chapter, they're great. Some other folks have, I don't know whether you're in a hurry, you're pushing up against the deadline, but look, I got to tell you, I was really lenient the first time out for our first case study. But I'm going to have to say, guys, look, you just cannot do 4 or 5 sentences and think that you're giving a good comprehensive answer to some of these complex case studies. They're raising really profound issues and big questions, and I want us to think about them and wrestle with them a little bit. Now, again, the first time out, this one was just, do you think it's right or wrong and why? So I was, pretty lenient about it. There were some big issues there, and lots of people, like I said, go through them. You'll see them in the discussion. There are some really great long responses. But as we progress, what you're going to see is I'm going to ask you to make a choice, good and bad, right and wrong, and then state why. But next, we're going to have to start really also looking at the thing I warned you about, which is not just a decision and why, the reasons, but now getting at the source of those reasons and looking at, again, the chapters, the textbook starts to raise these questions. What's the source of our moral thinking? And again, we've been looking at, are we talking about relativism or are we talking about objectivism? That's where we are right now with chapter 2. And I want us to bring that to our next case study, which is John the paramedic, the one due Thursday. But before I go there, just 1 or 2 last things about the class. If you missed it and you're just getting this message now, turn them in late. Do a good job and make sure that you're also responding to at least 2 classmates. Some people they had a great contribution, but then only responded to 1 classmate or didn't respond to anybody else. And so I sent messages to each of those students saying, look, don't forget, you got to do all 3 things. Got to make an original contribution and then comment on at least 2 of your classmates. All right. That being said, there was a couple of other things. One last thing, too, which is important. A couple of people said, gosh, I feel like the class is all breaking one way, and I disagree. Am I going to get hammered or lose points even in terms of the grading if I express some minority viewpoint? And I was like, no. The whole point is to have a discussion, and I need to be explicit about this. All viewpoints are welcome. You're just going to have to put them out there and defend them. There's limits around this, but we want to encourage an open debate. I'm inviting lots of different viewpoints and opinions about this. But we're also going to find, especially as we start to bring in more and more of the terms and concepts from our textbook, that there's a difference between personal preference and informed opinion and scientific knowledge and even absolute certainty. There's different levels of confidence that we can have about our knowledge on some of the issues we're discussing. And so just to put this in a framework with poles, on one end, there's some things which are objectively absolutely true, and your opinion doesn't matter. 1 plus 1 equals 2, and it equaled to 50 years ago and 100 years from now, here, South Africa, China. 1 plus 1 equals 2 everywhere. It's objectively true. So it's not like you can say, well, it's my opinion that 1 plus 1 equals 36. It doesn't work like that. And there's some things about which we have informed opinions and some things about which we have personal preference. So going all the way to the bottom of that scale is just personal preference, right? Whatever flavor of ice cream you like, that is completely up to you. If you like vanilla, great. If you like chocolate, great. Doesn't matter. It would be kind of crazy for me to say, no, you say vanilla is your favorite flavor of ice cream. It's not, because chocolate is objectively the best flavor. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because the nature of the thing we're talking about is it's up to you. That's personal preference. But look, there's also this middle ground about opinions, because not all opinions are created equal. Listen, if you came to me in class and you said, oh my gosh, I'm really feeling bad, I've got a sore throat and a little bit of a fever, I could give you an opinion, but it'd be worthless because I don't know anything about that. My opinion would be call a doctor. Now, hey, I've got a brother, and he's a physician. He studied biology and chemistry as an undergraduate. Then he went to medical school, studied 4 more years there. Then he was a resident in a hospital for 4 more years after that. And now he's been in practice for 20 years. So he's got all this training and study and testing and now practical experience. This guy could give you a medical opinion. In fact, he might even say you want a second opinion after mine. But believe me, his opinion is an informed opinion based on experience and training in a way that mine isn't. So don't fall into this trap that somehow all opinions about some things are also equal. They're not. So this is all by way of saying that I want you on some of these questions to give me your considered judgment about whether something is right or wrong. I want you to think about it. I want you to bring in the concepts from the chapter, and then I want you to apply them and tell me what you think. Now, somebody may disagree with you, and then we can have a conversation about why you disagree. But don't feel afraid to do that. In fact, I want us to engage with one another's ideas, and so I say in my classroom, when I'm teaching this face-to-face, I say, look, you can attack somebody's ideas, just not them. Don't have an ad hominem attack, an attack on the person. It's always okay to say, oh, I disagree with you about whether that's the right thing to do, and here's why. That's okay. What you want to stay away from is, you're fat and ugly, okay? Those are not good arguments. That's an attack on the person. We're going to stay away from those, okay? Now, that was my comments about the class and about the postings to date. And again, some of them have been great. Some have been a little too short. You need to get in there. I don't want to give a word count. I'm not going to play that game. But you got to give comprehensive answers to these things. Now, that all being said, we're coming up on Thursday, our next case study, John the paramedic. I mentioned at the website that it's a true story, and it is. And I can tell you, I saw one of the students from the class today here on campus, and we got talking about this in person. And I said, that's a true story. I said, it happened in one of my ethics classes. She's like, wow, really? I said, yeah. I said, boy, when that student told that story in class, you could have heard a pin drop when he got to the end of it. And one of the first things that happens is another student turns to him and says, could you have saved that guy's life? And he says, oh, yeah, I could have saved that guy's life. She's like, wow. And then somebody else kind of shouts, you should be in jail. And then somebody else shouts, No, 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 you should get a medal for what you did. So, wow, it really split this class. And some people were like, this is a really bad guy. What happened to him? Who cares? And other people were like, oh, no, no, look, sure, he was a bad guy, granted. But he still, John, the paramedic still had an obligation to treat him. Now, here's the thing. With the first question, I asked you right or wrong and why. Here, I want you to think about right or wrong, what John did, and then why. Give me your reasons, and then think about that. Now, what I'm hoping is the first thing you're going to connect to is this case about practical or professional ethics, right? Which is there was a code of ethics that governs the behavior of paramedics, and he clearly violated the code. Now, some people have said that's why it was wrong and he should have done the right thing and treated him. Other people, including John in class, argued, no, there was a rule there, but I did the moral thing by disobeying that and going against that code because in this situation, John says, in this situation, I did the right thing. He says he sleeps like a baby at night, knowing that he set aside that code, even though he was pressured to do it, he did the right thing. I'm curious to see what you got to think about it. I imagine we'll have people on both sides of the fence. Tell me right or wrong, why, and then pin it down. What if it's wrong? Why? And where did that come from in you? You're making a judgment about whether this is morally right or morally wrong. What's the foundation for that? And write that, comment on your classmates, and we'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.